Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we are going to recap Who's Number One, headlined by Nicholas Meregali and Pedro Marinho in the gi, and talk about a few other events, including the Finishers Final and Fight to Win 229 in Honolulu, Hawaii. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We just got done with Open Mat, and we are here to do the show on a Sunday night
Yeah.
for a Thursday night card.
Yeah.
It was nice. I didn't catch it live. I caught it on the replay because I was busy Thursday night. But again, I liked the pacing for this card was better.
Yeah, I think I got to bed at 11:30.
I think it was all
and I watched
over
the
then.
whole thing. It was freaking awesome.
Yep. So that was nice. And we have any news this week before we get into the recap? It's kind of a quieter news coming up in
they
the
announced
world.
September 1st is the IBJJF Grand Prix. It's going to be absolute for $40,000.
Yeah, that'll be good. We don't have any names yet for that.
Yeah, they haven't.
But that's still, again, they're doing more GPs. they're doing more of them.
Yeah.
They're paying out their athletes. I appreciate that. We've kind of one thing we've harped on IBJJF for years and years is that they don't really compensate the athletes. So they're doing more events, invite events for the athletes to get paid. $40,000 is a pretty decent prize too. That's almost what you're getting in one FC. You know, if you're winning a bonus. So it's cool to see them doing that. The names in it last time are pretty good.
Yeah.
And they've changed the rules to kind of make it a little more exciting, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. Athletes getting paid. We will know more about that when we get close to preview. But it's also all the way in September, and we're in May right now, so we have a number of months. That's during Masters Worlds, isn't it?
It's at the end of Master Worlds.
Yeah, it's during Jiu-Jitsu Con.
Yeah.
They've done it there before. One of the years that Saber won
I think
it.
Jiu-Jitsu Con, like if you want a no-gi match at Jiu-Jitsu Con, you can only do adult brackets.
Because Masters Worlds is weird. I think
Masters Worlds is only Masters brackets.
only Masters brackets, but they also run the Vegas Open at the same weekend for adults.
But it looked like it was only adult. And for no-gi, it was only adult. Because I was going to register for both. Because normally...
Yeah, Masters is usually only gi. Yeah, Masters World is only gi. And there's gi Masters Worlds too. I don't know when that is.
Yeah. So I was going to do no-gi at Jiu-Jitsu Con. Because it would be the same kind of time. And I could do both.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's only adult brackets. And I am too old to do adult.
Too old for adult.
I'm too old for adult.
So that's the same weekend. That's the same weekend as Masters World.
Yeah,
so
it is.
It'll be fun. You'll be in Vegas for that.
Yeah,
any other news this week?
I don't think
Meregali,
so.
I think you said that Meregali was talking about that bracket.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he meant that bracket. He said he challenges the next IBJJF Absolute World Champion to a $20,000 Who's Number One match.
That's kind of
cool. And
cool.
that he won't do IBJJF anymore. But that kind of jumps ahead from, what happened in,
I mean, he won.
Yeah,
it's
he
Meregali.
won.
If you listen to the show, you probably know that Nicholas Meregali won. Spoilers.
Yeah.
If you haven't got that far. He looked fucking good.
He did.
It is interesting that he's no longer going to do IBJJF. Let's save that topic for at that piece of the podcast and not get too out of order. I would love more super fights. It would be neat. Drinking the Citron tea.
Yeah.
It's got stuff in it.
Citron tea has some stuff in it.
It does have some stuff in it.
I just got some pulpy stuff.
It's got some detritus.
Yeah.
So, any other news? It was a pretty quiet week overall. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm. ADCC Open is in a couple of weeks. I may be out to that one in Dallas to do some judging work. Not quite sure yet. Got to look at the time off to see if I can finagle that. If they want me to come out, so that would be a potential option.
I think I'm at Globetrotters in Reykjavik.
You're in Iceland?
Yeah, I think I'm in Iceland.
Yeah, busy times of travel, so it's good. The ADCC, they've been awesome recently, and so Denver looked amazing. I didn't get a chance to go out for that one, but looks great. Looking forward to seeing how Dallas is, and potentially we might need to cover that. They're starting to get wild.
I've never been to Dallas. So it'll be fun.
Rachel and I got engaged in Dallas. We got engaged in Houston, a month after Dallas. Yeah, I went to Texas back-to-back months in 2019.
You have family in Dallas, right?
Out in Texas.
In Texas, yeah.
Yep. So I spent a little time out there. So
yeah,
it's a fun city.
Okay.
So let's move into the recap. Let's start with the main event.
Okay.
Nicholas Meregali defeats.
You should say the name of the event.
Who's number one? Tezos, who's number one? 18. Nicholas Meregali versus Pedro Marinho, presented by Fat Tire, broadcast on Flow Grappling.
Yes.
The name of the event.
Live in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, which if you're gonna run an event in Oklahoma City, your co-main Lovato makes a lot of sense.
Dude, he had his whole crew there.
Lovato always brings out guys.
You heard the place erupt.
Go back and watch all the Lovato matches on all of the Fight to Wins whenever they come to Oklahoma City, because he always headlines, and it's always crazy. Because Lovato, I love for Fight to Win. We're getting ahead of ourselves this week. Has like a custom intro because he's done so many Fight to Win matches. It is the most badass walkout ever. It's like a whole compilation of him like winning, and there's like a tiger that jumps out, and it's like it's awesome. But whenever he walks out in Oklahoma, you're like, it gets
They
wild.
said on the telecast that it was like either this weekend or next weekend he celebrated 20 years of competing.
Yeah. And his dad said they were celebrating 30 years of the academy, which is wild.
Yeah.
Again, jiu-jitsu has been around in the U.S. not a huge amount of time.
No.
So 30 years is a pretty OG when it comes to
I've only been to
academy.
Oklahoma City once, and unfortunately I didn't get to train there.
I went out to
made me sad.
Nebraska, train with John Hansen with Zach, and I did that before ADCC this last year. It was fun.
Yeah.
Nebraska's full of big folks like Lovato, so that makes sense.
No, different state.
Omaha.
Oklahoma,
right.
Oklahoma, different state.
Right. It's all the Midwest guys.
All the Midwest.
Geography's not my strong suit. So, this match, Nicholas Meregali versus Pedro Marinho, it was a gi match. We haven't seen a gi match on Who's Number One in
a long time. That's what they even said on the telecast.
On a while.
I don't think they knew either.
They were like, it has been since yesteryear before we had a gi match.
Yeah.
Rules are pretty similar for any super fight match. It was just you can't heel hook.
Yeah.
And then the reaping rule didn't come up at all in this match.
No, it didn't.
Spoiler, it was kind of a quick match. Nicholas Meregali's a monster.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
I got very excited at the very beginning because I thought we were going to have like a crazy upset, and it would have been fun to just see an upset.
Let's jump into the match. There's a moment near the beginning of the match that you're talking about that was, and you brought it up earlier and during our pre-show, that Nicholas Meregali does a thing. Where's it start from?
So this one started differently than the last time, but the two things that I've only seen, like Meregali's game is pretty like spot on. Like he doesn't.
There's not a
he
whole
doesn't
lot of...
really make any wrong choices ever. But there's been two people, Roosevelt Souza at
was it Worlds?
No, Pans.
Pans.
And
Pedro
Marinho that get to his back, and not fully to his back,
almost
but
get
like
to his back.
Almost get to his back. And Pedro went like between the legs and up.
Mm-hmm.
And Roosevelt did it a different way because I wound up watching that match again just to see how it happened.
If it was how similar
and to
it was.
see if it was the similar, like if it was he watched him and then was like, oh, this is how
Pedro
I do this.
watched.
But it wasn't. Pedro just moved fast as fuck, like
Yeah.
between his legs and came up behind him. And, but it's the only thing I've ever seen, like, not scare Meregali, but definitely put Meregali in a defensive stance.
Yeah.
And these are the only two times I've ever
recently. We've seen Meregali get beat, like, we see him get beat, like, occasionally.
Like a while ago, but it's been a bit.
I
think it's been a bit.
Maybe a couple years.
Yeah, because he won the
in the gi. We're talking about in the gi.
Yeah, he
Meregali
won
in the gi.
so as I give the camera the finger.
As you point to the camera.
Yeah, as I point to the camera with my finger, like that, he lost that match, but it was because he gave the finger to those guys, and he won the match, and then they went back.
Yeah, the Penna match.
But he won all the matches that day. That was the year before.
That was a year.
And then he was banned for a year.
That was a couple
so like
years
it's
ago.
been a couple years since we saw him lose.
In IBJJF, and he really only in the gi. He really only does IBJJF. He doesn't do World Pro. So and he was doing ADCC. He was focused on that.
Exactly. So we haven't seen him lose in
2019.
We've seen him lose in no-gi, but that's completely different.
That was ADCC too. And
and that's
your fourth or fifth match in no-gi.
Yeah.
I think there's always a stat that Meregali, it was in 2018. I think 2018. If he beat you, he submitted you. He didn't win every match that year. He won most of them.
Yeah.
But, like, he had 100% submission rate. Like, if he beat you in 2018, he submitted you.
Yeah.
And that was the wildest shit. Like, the wildest stat of any top-level competitor ever. That was just, like, in a modern era, you did that. So, Nicholas Meregali is really good. But there's one thing that you were talking about that we saw in this match. There's a position that he gets to in this.
I think he just exposes his back. And I don't think he does it for a long period of time, but if you're quick enough to jump on that exposure, then you can have the advantage to get to his back.
Yeah.
But no one really gets to his back, but they almost get to his back.
Yeah.
And
Meregali,
like
he,
I said,
he immediately stalled the position out.
Yeah.
You saw him like, okay, this is
like
bad. Pedro can get his hip all the way through. This is a race.
It's like a Keskatami and then just like weighs really heavy.
Yeah, but he has the leg trapped in the half guard there.
True.
Because basically, essentially, Pedro's first hook is kind of in there and going towards the back, but he's still flattened Pedro out enough where it's like Pedro can't get his hip over top to throw the hook in, and then it ends up with that just standard kind of slide through into Keskatami, or Meregali comes back and he comes back to the half guard.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much the offense that we saw from Pedro in the match.
Yeah,
it was like, it could be a quick upset, and then
Meregali just crushed
Pedro
him.
came out quick too, which makes sense if you're gonna.
You got to go fast.
It's that philosophy of like, if you want to ever play against LeBron, like you challenge him to one-on-one first to score wins.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're never gonna beat him in a long game. Like Meregali's not a guy that you're gonna beat in a long game, and Pedro tactically has an amazing like explosiveness to him, and he was the smaller guy.
He
in
was
this
also
match.
like I want to say 40, 60 pounds smaller.
I thought they were similar weight.
No, they put up They put it up, and it was like it was a significant.
Okay,
difference.
I was talking to Josh in our chat. We were in chat.
Actually, I took a picture of it
because for some reason I think I remembered. I watched Elder Cruz and Lovato before this, obviously,
and they were both
watching the card.
They were both like 205ers.
And I think that I thought that the Meregali one was each 200. They were both about 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And
so maybe I completely blew it, but Meregali was 226 and Marinho was 208.
Okay, so he had
20 pounds,
not
40 pounds.
Yeah,
but
he had 20 pounds on him. And
he had 20 pounds
and
on
that
him.
was evident. There were a couple positions, especially when Meregali got to the top, that you saw him really be able to just impose on Pedro in a way that we see him do kind of an absolute. I was just really impressed with Meregali. Gets to mount, gets to top, and then sort of like starts to walk up the staple and slides across to get the mounted triangle on Pedro. He reaches back, he kind of grabs the same side of the pants, and then he just sort of just like turns, waits, and they have a little bit of a kind of a back and forth for a second, and then eventually Meregali just does, he turns his knees down. The mounted triangle is something we don't see a whole lot. If you ever want to do mounted triangles, this is the way to do it. There is a different way that you lock up a mounted triangle that we see from Meregali here that I only learned like a couple of years, maybe 4 years ago. I learned that if you ever try to lock up a mounted triangle, everyone tries to do it like a triangle from the guard. And actually,
you can't. Yeah.
You can't because the mechanics different. The body gets in the way, the shoulders get in the way, your legs and your knees are flat on the mat.
Yeah.
And so, interesting enough, when I interviewed Edwin Najmi at Third Coast Grappling a couple years ago, he talked about, he was like, yeah, man, you just go to your back. It's just way easier than doing it mounted. If you want to finish mounted, though, what you have to do is you have to get on the point of your knee that is the knee that is being the locking leg.
Yeah.
Like the leg that's over top of your other leg. You have to get on the point of the knee. You have to balance on that. And then you need to swing and slide your hips over just on that point. And that allows you to make the angle behind their shoulder to straighten up your shin bone behind their shoulder blades.
That makes sense.
And it's such a weird, different mechanic for being able to close off that triangle space where the arm is in than in the guard where it's like you turn your hip. But here you get on your knee. And so it's an entirely different mechanic. And you saw Meregali kind of, he bases out wide because he has to drop his weight over that knee in order to swing the knee out to get that position. It's just not something that I've seen a lot of people show or teach. And whenever I have to teach like mounted triangle to people, it's a detail that I always will pull in. So it's cool to have a match like this. I'm pointing at the screen so no one can see that. I have a match like this to kind of show, oh, look what Meregali does here. He does that where his shin is not flat on the mat when he's doing it. He's basing up and making that turn in order to finish Pedro.
I've always just put my shin like to my knee, but my foot on my knee. Not like actually lock it, but just like make a triangle, but with my foot on my knee.
And that's a way to do it.
But that's how I've always done it because I just get mounted arm bars like that.
Yeah,
I don't even go for the triangle. I just mounted arm bar.
Like that. It's just neat, and it's not a technique that we see a ton, but Meregali looked unstoppable.
And he had
he just crushed through Pedro's
guard. And he had the weird spray painted triangle in his back.
Was it spray painted or was it like?
It
was bleached.
It looked like spray. Well, it might have been bleach. It might have been in a spray bottle, but it was definitely like it had the spray paint pattern, like it was sprayed, and it was like he had put like a tape triangle and then like sprayed it on top of that.
Yeah, it looked custom, and I couldn't figure. I didn't really spend too much
time.
No,
I think he did it himself. I think I saw a video of him doing it.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
And he did that. He did that because that's what he was gonna get, a triangle.
Oh, that's crazy. That's some Gordon
shit.
Good
That's
for
he did it with the gi.
Look, good for you for calling it out. Again, I like a little bit of the showmanship this. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we saw.
So that was him.
And then non sequitur.
And then there was a video. There was a there was a back scene video. If you go, and I don't remember
a backstage video.
Yeah, somewhere where they're warming up in the back, and Meregali is doing this to his training partner. And Pedro is behind him warming up, and you see Pedro look over and realize that the camera's looking at him, and like immediately like switch his head and keep on warming up. But you're watching Meregali do to his training partner exactly what is going to be done to him.
That's gangster.
I was like, oh, you just did that. You didn't even like try to hide it in the back and like act like
that's how good Meregali
you just freaking show it to him like, ha, bitch, this is what I'm going to do to you. And then you do it to him.
That's crazy. Like again, we talk about Meregali. Like there's two guys in the gi that we talk about like this, and it's Meregali and it's Tynan. And I was like, I wish that Tynan was a little bigger and Meregali was a little smaller.
Yeah.
And that was the weight discussion in the chat we had. I was like, that's a match I want to see between those guys because Tynan undefeated in IBJJF since his black belt in 50-something, 60 matches.
Yeah.
Meregali, world beater, couple years older, bigger.
Yeah.
But both from a technical perspective, both those guys are phenomenal and like above everyone
But if
else.
you notice, Dalper never does absolute.
Yeah, but because he's less than 200. He's like 185.
Yeah.
When it's like, if you're trying to maintain that kind of legacy, why would I go against a guy that's like Meregali
when I'm going to lose?
240? It's like there's.
Well,
like,
you're not going to lose.
It is uncommon to have guys that size win absolute. Can he do it? Absolutely. In the modern era, it is uncommon to see that.
It is.
You see guys like Meregali and Hugo, like the guys that are,
the
guys that are above 200, above 220. Are the guys that typically can do it. And so when you're maintaining a record, I see it. But as a super fight match, as we see both these guys at such a high level in the gi, it's just like there are very few parallels.
It would definitely be nice to see.
And also, Pedro's a monster. So to have Meregali run through the guard and then sub him like that and pretty quick, like what, under 5 minutes?
I don't know the time, but it was.
I think it was. We didn't see judge's favor at all. So that was the first.
Oh, true. We didn't see.
So it would have been, I think, in the first like 3 minutes of the match or 4 minutes of the match.
Within 5, because
we didn't
they
see
come
that.
at 5 and they come at 10.
So Nicholas Meregali looks great. He then he had a call out, I thought, didn't he?
Who?
Meregali.
No, he called out the 2000. He said
what
he's not doing IBJJF anymore, and he'll give $20K to whoever wins IBJJF absolute.
I would love to see. Look, again, it makes a storyline. It brings someone who's number one. It gives me a pathway to seeing Meregali compete more frequently. I wish more athletes, and I think all the athletes on the card that won had some sort of call out, and I appreciate that's probably coming from Flo. To brief from. The
conversation with Lovato over him retiring made me giggle because she just called him out on
We'll talk about that next. But I appreciate that probably someone in the back at Flo is going, hey, when you win, how we are going to ask you this question. Have someone in mind because it allows us to talk about it and broadcast and give like sound bites to other people and it allows us to build this up. So, and because it's something we talked about when I've interviewed athletes in post fights, it's as an interviewer, sometimes it can get frustrating. Not frustrating, it's not the right word, but I want the athlete to be able to advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
And a call out that makes sense is interesting and immediately has follow-up questions. It gives a storyline. It gives me something to think about because that athlete is interested in that match.
Yeah.
And it gives me something to latch onto. So I appreciate that they did it here. Anything else on this match?
Nope.
Moving on to the co-main event, Rafael Lovato Jr. versus Elder Cruz.
I think I woke up my whole neighborhood as I jumped up and down on my bed and screamed when this match happened. I was very happy in this match.
Lovato's a monster, and so he has retired, he has unretired, he has retired, he has unretired. Like at this point, so Lovato wins by rear naked choke.
Yeah,
we'll talk about some of the particulars of the match here. Let's talk about the retirement.
But Kendall
was doing
like called him out and was like, "Hey, you don't do really well at retirement, do you?" And he's like, "Well, I gotta do what I gotta do," or something.
I loved his response though. Was like, "Look, we're prepping all these guys for Worlds. I'm in the room with these guys. I'm training every day with them, like Victor Hugo, and who else did he mention? He mentioned someone else, like Sanji, but it was somebody else in the room.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the name. Who else is with Lovato? But Hugo was one of the big guys. Yeah. You know, I'm in the room with them. I'm with them all the time. Like I'm training.
Was it Roosevelt Souza? C6
might have been Roosevelt. I'm blanking on who else. It might have been Roosevelt. But like I'm in the room with these guys all the time.
Yeah.
I'm training like I'm training with them, and like we're all prepping for this Worlds. I feel like I have more, and I can still do it.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna put this much into camp for these guys, why not just continue to compete?
Yeah.
And I kind of went, that's reasonable. Like he's 39. He's not like he's not like 60.
And he doesn't. I don't think he cares. Like when he loses, he's probably upset he loses.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like take it.
But
he keeps on competing.
He knows he's not in his athletic prime anymore,
Yeah.
and he recognizes, like, look, man, I still can do it and still be great, and continue greatness and like have great matches that I'm interested in at this stage of my career, and I'm still training like I'm gonna do this with the guys that I'm looking to push into Worlds. So why wouldn't I do it? And that was like one of the best responses to that question I think anyone's given. Lovato's always been very articulate, and it's I had the pleasure of speaking to him in person at ADCC very, very briefly, but I appreciated that response where it was like, this is why I'm continuing to do it. It wasn't a wishy-washy retirement thing. It was like, hey, man, was retired, now I'm not retired, but because I'm not retired because I'm in the room.
That's the old MMA, guy.
MMA retirements are fake.
Yeah.
Guys retire.
They don't really retire.
They never retire until like the paycheck comes back and you're like,
I don't think they ever retire until they're unable to walk or function.
Yeah, until they die.
Yeah.
MMA is until you're dead.
Yeah.
And like you're gonna come back. So Lovato, let's talk about the match. Elder Cruz looked good here, and he did what we thought he was gonna do last week, where it was like Elder Cruz pushed the pace on guys.
Yeah, he does.
And he comes in fast, and in the press conference before this match, I forget, they brought up on commentary.
Yeah.
That was, if Lovato comes in high on me, I'm going to blast him down.
I'm going to blast him down. And then Lovato gave him a look like,
no,
you're not. No, you're not.
He did end up getting Lovato down. I think a couple of times.
Lovato pulled one time.
We pulled him one time. I thought Elder gets him down
I think he gets him down at the end, but it might have been twice.
I think so. Elder looked good on the feet. Elder looked like he had the clear speed advantage. Again, Lovato looked a little slower than Elder, but
Lovato was blocking his shots. Like
he
was shooting, and Lovato was not dealing. Just kind of dealing with it.
But in the initial stages of the match, like I think the judges even gave the advantage to Elder. Like he was doing more.
They did not.
They did not.
They did not. I was positive they did not, but I could be wrong with that. But I was positive.
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think they gave it to Lovato from the beginning.
They did because he was passing.
Yeah.
Yeah, in one sequence. The sequence that matters here. So Elder, I think Elder looked good.
Yeah.
He was putting some good pressure into Lovato. And then at one point, Lovato pulls, and we see, it's like, okay, Lovato's going to play off his back. He plays off his back for a little bit.
Has those crazy-ass long legs that are ridiculous to pass.
He's got special attributes. He's got giant, very strong hands.
Yeah.
And he's got very, very, he's super tall, super long and lanky. And Elder Cruz stands up to do a lumberjack pass.
Yeah.
And Lovato hits a lumberjack sweep. But he does it in a really neat way. In the lumberjack sweep, I had a term for it.
Well, yeah,
you were like, it's a weird sweep. I was like, I think it's called a lumberjack sweep.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was. I was like, you hook the leg and
you call it a hook sweep. I think.
Yeah,
but I think is a different.
I think that's a different sweep too. I don't know. My sweeps are not my. My forte.
Nameology is not. It's not our strong suit here.
No.
So Lovato rides his hips up, so he's on his shoulders, and then what he does is he underhooks the leg that Elder's standing on. And then with his other hand, he reaches behind him and he does a bridge off his neck and back, and he pushes off. And what that does is it drives his hips and legs into Elder, basically knocking him down. And then he techs out of this.
This is what me and your wife learned at 50-50.
Oh, really?
Well, we went to
From Frank?
Frank Rosenthal. That's what he taught the lumberjack sweep.
And
exactly the same way. You put your arm back.
You put your arm back and push.
And you do like almost like a handstand. You handstand, but you handstand into him and push him over.
It's why I've seen people be unsuccessful with that sweep is because they'll hook and they'll just drive their hips in. You need something behind you. If someone has decent balance and they can splay their legs out kind of far, you need to be able to push them over and pull that leg in as you do it. And that's exactly what Lovato does. And he drops up with it. And then he gets into the scramble with Elder, who we've seen in scrambles, specifically the Heisem-Rita match on Who's Number One. Like, I think the last time we saw Elder on Who's Number One, Lovato gets behind Elder, and he does something phenomenal here that I was amazingly impressed with. He gets Elder like he's going to go, like Barry Yoshida back crucifix, like roll through, but then he steps his top side leg over top of Elder's shoulder and then slides his leg over the arm. Then he rolls to the other side, takes his back, has that arm as the leg as the body triangle leg, and locks it in. Yeah. So now he's in a body triangle on Elder's back with Elder's arm trapped in the body triangle, and not like slightly trapped. Like,
no,
it's
like trapped,
deep,
strapped.
And his arm is straight to his body. It's what we saw Gordon do to Galvao at the World Championships of ADCC. It was that exact same where the hand is super deep and it's screwed. Yeah. You can't get the hand out. It's stuck. Lovato, with his long limbs, reaches under Elder, gets the choke, like, I think in like 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
He's getting the choke as he's transitioning, as he's going to this body lock, arm trap position in one motion from this lumberjack sweep. And it was like, all right, well, maybe Lovato's maybe he still got it.
And then the whole crowd goes completely
The crowd just
insane.
Loses its shit.
Yeah.
And I lost my shit in my kitchen.
I lost my shit too.
I was watching this making breakfast. I lost my shit in my kitchen.
It was like late at night, and I was like screaming in my bedroom, and I was like, oh, my kid's going to wake up. Wonder what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
As I'm jumping around.
So we're watching jiu-jitsu time. Lovato just won in Oklahoma City, the place that he's from. That crowd popped off, and it was awesome.
And it's Daddy Lovato now because he has kids.
It is Daddy Lovato.
Yeah.
He shouted at his wife in the post fight. He's like, Mother's Day was just around the corner.
Yeah.
I love my wife. I got 2 kids. And he's like, Lovato is just such. We have a lot of people that are not the best people in this sport.
Yeah, he's
numerous reasons.
He's an awesome person.
And then you just see Lovato, and you're like, oh, you're like a really kind of like, you seem like a really chill dude. Like, you never hear anything bad about Lovato. Everyone's just like, oh, yeah, he's super respectful. He trains super hard. Yeah. He has a good family life. Good kid. You're like, oh, thank you, Lovato, for being like a cool dude.
Yeah, it would break my heart if something bad came out about Lovato.
I know. And his brain thing he got. Retired from MMA as a Bellator champion. Watching that whole run, I watched all of his fights leading up to that. Like, it's been cool to watch this side of the career of Lovato and him still be super successful like this. I was impressed with Elder. It is interesting that we've seen a number of different matches. The Heisem-Rita match, this match, I think a match at Trials. I forget, like, Elder Cruz in scrambles can have his back taken and finished. Yeah. And anyone can. And I want to just point this to Elder, but it is something that we're starting to see. Like, we have 2 matches on Who's Number One versus, like, the longest and lankiest guys of the division, like Heisem and Lovato.
Yeah, because Elder is stocky.
He's stocky. It's just an interesting, like, style parallel matchup. Yeah. I'm curious to see if this will continue to be a problem when Elder faces really long, lanky guys, if they can scramble to his back like this with the body triangle. Because both Heisem and Lovato were both body triangles.
He also, I mean, he has a good camp at Checkmat, so I'm sure that somebody is seeing this and somebody is working on this.
And we've seen Elder, get phenomenally better over the last couple of years, but it is always interesting when you have someone on a big stage like this that has the same finish, like, in a short period of time.
It's also, you're watching his film. And you realize there's something that you can do.
Lovato's a guy that we know, like, puts the work into the tape, and also has such a. Lovato's game is not typically a really scrambly game, so it is interesting that this was the finish.
Yeah.
But Lovato looks good. He's back. He called out Pedro Marinho.
He did.
And I got excited about that because Izaak Michell also called out Pedro Marinho, and I was like, I got excited about that.
Yeah.
Everyone's coming for Pedro, and I'm down because we have a league structure now in Who's Number One.
Yeah.
Where guys are looking for the belt and, like, I want the champion. It's like, oh, cool. You move guys up rankings. Like, it gives us a storyline to talk about where it's like, Lovato wants the belt. Yeah. Izaak wants the belt. Oh, no, maybe Pedro's out for a little bit. Maybe we got to have them fight together for the number 1 contender. So they go for it makes potential matchups happen. I'd be really interested in the Pedro Marinho match. I think Pedro might take that. But with Lovato, again, Elder has a similar.
Lovato can also slow people down. Like, I've watched him slow people at Brazilian Nationals. I watched him slow people down
in the gi though.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, so I'm excited for that potential matchup. I like that. He said basically he got down in weight to get down to 200 for the match. Him fighting for light heavyweight title against Marinho, I think, is a good option. I also love. He goes, look, man, I'm turning 40 in like 2 weeks. he's like 26 or 28. Give me the match first because I'm getting older.
Yeah,
I was like, I appreciate that. Like, just being upfront with it and like, hey, man, I only have a couple more years so I can attend with these guys.
Old.
Give me it first so that I don't have to wait in line because I'm getting older.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the self-awareness of the situation to like pull rank and go, look, give me the match.
Yeah.
Give Izaak next.
I've been around longer.
But give it to me first so I can take a crack at the belt. Great match from Lovato. Any kind of closing thoughts on it?
Nope.
All right, moving on. We have the main card. These are out of order, weirdly.
It's just go down. We'll go how they're. So we go William Tackett versus.
Are we missing results? Yeah, we're missing.
No, you go sideways. I think doesn't it go sideways?
It should go sideways, but I don't know why it's.
Yeah.
All right, here we are.
That's why.
So, what do you want to start with next?
We go William Tackett versus Francisco Lowe.
Francisco Lowe is very good.
He's a
and
beast.
I
called this.
You did call this.
I called this.
Yeah, you called this.
Ha ha.
He's really good.
He is.
And his wrestling surprised me.
Yeah.
He almost at the end gets heel hooked by Tackett.
Yeah.
And you see him kind of hover hand and go.
But he doesn't give
14 seconds
like,
left.
He also had a look on his face like, I'll just let it break.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I was very impressed with Francisco Lowe here. You got some notes for us.
Yeah, and he has the lat drop counter.
Dude, he hits it twice. He hits it once. So there is a sequence here in Francisco Lowe. That's a weird sentence I put together. William Tackett.
Back to real quick because now I remember the Lovato. Lovato got lat dropped. That's what.
Oh yeah.
That's what's it called? Got on it. Elder Cruz
Elder
got like an amazing lat drop because he realized that Lovato would push in and would push in.
Yeah.
It was the weekend of the lat drop. I love lat drops.
The lat drop we're starting to see a lot of people throw the lat drops in because I think from that high stance that just you guys tend to take.
And when you push in, when you have someone who's aggressive and pushing in, all it is a twist and they're down. Yeah.
And it's something I've been trying to hit a little bit on my back. Tells me not to do that, but it's interesting to see.
But they're so much fun.
We're seeing it a lot.
And
it is like more common. I saw it at ADCC. Like
we saw Bradley hit one tonight.
We did see Bradley hit one. Yeah, it's more common.
Yeah.
So
but anyway, sorry, sidetracked. But I realized that
speaking of lat drops, though.
Yeah.
We had in one of the earlier takedown sequences of the match, we saw some great wrestling exchanges from Lowe. We saw Lowe kind of get Tackett down.
Yeah.
And then in a later sequence, like a minute later in the match, we saw Tackett and Lowe kind of in a scramble, and then Tackett got like a weird body lock behind Lowe, and then they were running towards kind of inbound to the mat to the side, and you saw really weird. It took me a minute to figure out what it was, but it was like, oh, Francisco Lowe did essentially a lat drop from William Tackett being body locked around him.
Yeah.
It kind of fucking worked.
Yeah. It was a counter that I haven't seen it before. And it was an interesting counter.
I've never seen it from standing.
Yeah.
I've seen guys do it from, like, if you come up almost like a dog fight where guys will do it from a dog fight where you roll through their side.
Yeah.
But and it makes sense. So to kind of set the stage, a regular lat drop, you have like overhooks or underhooks, and then what you do is you basically do like you do a bridge to the side while you drop, and your goal is to basically throw someone over your like side of your hip, but chest to chest, and land them back on the mat.
Yeah,
that's sort of the goal for a lat drop. What Francisco Lowe does here is he does that from the body lock, from like the back, and because William Tackett has such like a good grip on him, Tackett gets thrown to his back, but Lowe lands on top of him and can kind of bounce and turn himself out of this. So you end up almost in like the half guard or the guard or side control, depending on how you do it. And it's such a weird counter. It almost looks like that knee bar counter people do from body lock.
Yeah.
Like the old Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, like self-defense one.
The roll one?
The roll through.
Yeah.
It's almost, I thought he was almost doing that.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first too. But then.
But it's to the side.
Yeah, but then you see it he doesn't roll through. He goes, he definitely kind of reaches down, but then he goes sideways.
And I think he reaches down to just dip his shoulder.
Oh, okay.
I think is what he was. Again, it's a technique. Again, we rarely see like new technique on the show. We watch a lot of jiu-jitsu. So it's really cool to see something like this where it's like, I've seen that from like a dog fight. I have not seen someone try to do that in this way ever. And it's just like, that's a really interesting. It's probably a thing you can do in wrestling, but I'm just very.
I don't think your stance would be that tall in wrestling. That's the problem.
Maybe if guys are standing up, pushing the hands up. I'm not sure. I'm
maybe
not sure
like
where it comes from.
like Greco.
Yeah,
Greco,
I don't watch a ton of Greco either.
I watched it, and it's definitely a weird thing to watch. And so I get confused, and then it gets sidetracked.
I always get confused watching wrestling. So, but Lowe does it. He does it once, and then he does it again later in the match.
Yeah.
And you actually picked up on it. I missed it the first time because I thought in the second time of the match he does it from like a different spot.
Yeah, you thought it was like him getting taken down.
Well, I thought it was
like,
William like immediately super aggressively like falling to his back, but he does it. He hits super hard, so I thought Lowe like drove into it, and you picked up. You're like, no, watch it again.
Yeah,
and then you went, oh no, it's Lowe doing the same.
It's Lowe being like, you're on my back, and you're gonna take me that way anyway, so I'm just gonna hit you harder that way, and then turn as I do it, so that I can get the top position.
And so it's cool to see like, oh, that's a repeatable thing that he does.
Yeah, but then the crazy part about it is then as he lands, he like then finds backside 50-50. He did it both times.
Twice.
He goes back and he goes into the legs. Like he like kind of falls back, lat drops behind, and then somehow rolls into the legs, almost like a K guard to backside.
Yeah,
but I don't.
He ends up in that underhook knee bar position where basically you end up in the guillotine grip on the knee bar from backside 50-50, where the person like William at this point is almost tripoded down, where he's like both legs are extended and he's on his hands with like the ass in the air, and then Lowe is behind him in backside 50-50, hips up. And so you can hit a knee bar from there, but William immediately realizes, kind of stands up, turns the knee. But Lowe repeatedly goes to backside 50-50 for both of these sequences.
Yeah.
And a couple of other times, like his transition into backside 50-50 for that overhand position is really interesting. I don't know why he doesn't go to knee bar. And I wasn't sure about exactly what William was doing or what, if that's not a piece and a function of his game.
Yeah.
Because that is such a a drilled position for him, obviously.
I truthfully haven't watched a lot of Lowe's game. Like, I think Lowe just got his black belt recently.
Yeah, we talked about that last week where we both, at least I personally don't have
I mean,
really
I went through,
I've
seen that he's been like killing it on the competition circuit. I just haven't gotten a chance to watch his stuff.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with the back. It reminds me of, I think Gordon in like 2016 versus Penna was doing a lot of that similar entry into that backside 50-50. And we see like Lachlan will do it, other guys will do it, but the way that Lowe ends up in it, he ends up in the position where he's almost like straight for the knee bar. Yeah. He doesn't end up. I love knee bars, so
but then he comes up. But then he comes up to like leg weave.
Yes,
which I thought maybe part of the reason, like he does a lot of IBJJF. Yeah. So I'm thinking that maybe it's a points kind of thing, that he's coming up for points.
It makes
because you know what I mean?
It makes sense. You end up in a better spot if you can come up from a 50-50 to then pass into leg weave. And he passes into leg weave. There's like two big sequences in this match.
The second time
he sits in leg weave.
The second time he gets Tackett's arm in his leg weave, which is even the crazier thing. I'm like, I didn't even know you could do that.
He trapped Tackett's arm like you're gonna go, like Tackett was going to deep half almost. Yeah. And then Francisco Lowe gets topside leg weave where the top leg is like crunched over into his chest, and he's in like a head and arm position, like through chest to chest. But William's arm is stuck underneath Francisco's leg, under his own leg, and it was just this weird. And you picked up on it. You went. His arm's stuck. Yeah.
Because you could look at it and you're like, oh, he can't move.
Because he's flat. Because it basically keeps William's arm flat out. Yeah. And because if it's on the his arm was trapped on the side of his own knees, so his knees are pushed to the side, his chest and shoulders are flat, his back is flat to the mat. Francisco Lowe is on top of him, so you have to go either flat with your hips, but you can't because Francisco Lowe's hips and knees are in the way because he's in leg weave. Yeah. Or you need to be able to get to that side and underhook and be able to bridge on the side that your knees are to underhook and go to like a deep half. Yeah. But you can't because Francisco Lowe is on your hips and his chest is high up on your body and he's in like a head and arm position, or not quite a head and arm, but like a front headlock. What's the term I'm looking for?
I don't even know. It's like a head and arm.
Like a head and arm, but the arm's not trapped essentially.
Yeah. It's
like a cross-side scarf hold. Yeah. Essentially is what it, or not scarf, a cross-side cross face.
Yeah.
essentially.
It's like a crossface, but it's the wrong direction.
Yeah, basically. But again, if you're in leg weave, you can just trap someone there, and he traps Williams' arm there.
Yeah.
And I actually forgot. I didn't go back and look at it. I should do that. If that was a feature of something that Lowe was doing to trap it, or if Tackett just got his arm trapped.
No,
there.
I think he just got it. I think he just got it.
Just like a situational thing.
Yeah. But I'm not completely positive. There might have been a push there too. But
it was super neat, and really that was most of the match. Was just there was two big sequences of probably almost 5 minutes in total.
Yeah.
They were just Francisco Lowe in the top side smash past knee cut leg weave pass, just putting pressure on Tackett, trying to kind of finish the head and arm, but it really looked like he was. I'm not gonna say being cautious.
Yeah.
That's probably not the right way to put it, but he was.
He's
definitely,
also probably not trying to blow his arms out either.
Yeah. He was like, okay, cool, I've got you here. I've controlled you here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to kind of grind through this. And if you give me something and you make an overcommitment, then I'll take what I need to take. But I'm just going to hold you here and sort of wait for you to overcommit. And I'll slowly grind through this when I feel like I'm ready. But I'm not in any big rush. Didn't look like he was stalling.
No.
But it just looked like he was very confident in his positioning and wasn't any urgency to like progress, because he knew at any point he could if he needed to.
And he probably thought about it and was like, if I overcommit to something, Tackett's going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get fucked, know?
And again, we saw like the one sequence later in the match when Tackett does get out and goes to the legs. Like, I think Tackett is probably a stronger leg locker than Lowe. Like, Tackett looked very good getting his legs in. He trapped both of Lowe's legs. He went for the heel hook that was super tight. Went to the other side with like 14 seconds left. But Lowe did a good job kind of eating it and then getting far enough out to play out of that. But I was just really impressed with Lowe. He gets a very, very clean decision here. I was impressed with all aspects of his game. I'm happy that, we're getting a chance to see him. He's definitely a guy that is solidly on our radar at this point. Like, oh, you can wrestle. Oh, you have really interesting kind of unorthodox entries. I'm really curious about the backside 50-50.
And he's also a middle range size guy. Like, he's not like a big, huge guy, which I like them showing more of, like the mid range.
Yeah,
kind
the
of
folks
athletes.
closer to our sizes.
Yeah,
They have more parallels in the game that I can find and kind of pull from and find interesting, because there's more parallels for me personally.
Yeah.
How old is Lowe? Do you remember how old he was?
I think he's young.
Is he younger than Tackett, or is he?
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay, I didn't. I know he's.
We can.
He's in his 20s. I just didn't remember what side of that for Tackett. I didn't know if he was 28 or like 24, because I think Tackett's like 24 now. And I didn't remember if he was older or younger than Tackett.
His nickname is Chino.
Chino.
And he is.
Give me your birthday.
I'm looking.
UGJ Heroes.
That's where I'm at. Oh God.
What's the year? You say 2000.
2000.
2000?
Yeah.
He's 23.
Yeah. I know, because I graduated high school in 2000.
That's crazy.
He could be my child. He was born in Manaus.
Okay,
he's another one of them.
Another boy from Manaus. What are they called? The boys. That was the documentary, right? Boys from Manaus. Yeah, dude. Manaus is like, they've been talking about it for years. Dude's coming out of Manaus like it's
but he went the direction of he trains with Costa.
Felipe?
Yeah. No, Cicero.
Okay.
Cicero
Costa. Cicero Costa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cicero Costa, that's the Meow stuff. That's all. That's all those guys. So. Crazy again. Francisco Lowe, one to watch. Definitely takes a really clean decision over Tackett. I'm super curious to see more of his game, and I'm happy that he's on Who's Number One. I think he's definitely going to be on next.
Female instructor for most of his life.
That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
That's not you reading the BG Heroes now?
Yeah.
That's super rare.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Karen Diaz, the daughter of legendary Cosmos Diaz, was his first instructor, and she was his first instructor. That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
seldom do you hear about women that.
I think we're going to see more of that though, like especially with Angelica, Atos, and like there's more long-standing females that were great competitors and and just good coaches that have now moved into the role of head coaches, and it's cool. My wife just got her brown belt last week, so that was cool, and she coaches a bunch of people. So that's
a bunch of kids,
and some adults too. And
she has like a ton of.
She does have a ton of kids.
Yeah, ton of kids.
So it was, and I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on. So it's cool that like we have now a top level competitor that spent most of his time with a female coach. And that is super neat and unique. Anything else on the match?
Nope, that's it.
Moving on to the next match, Dante Leon versus Ruan Alvarenga.
This is wild.
Ruan looked good. So, Dante, we now know why he's back at 55.
Dante has some crazy hair.
He does some crazy hair.
I didn't realize...
His picture was the short hair Dante, and then he had like the perm coming out.
Yeah, he has curly hair. I didn't realize that. Anyway.
Ruan looked good.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Ruan, especially...
His takedowns were great.
We got off. Dante's back at 155. Because Dante's like, he was 85, he was 70. He's basically like, there's no one left to face at these weight classes that can give me matches. So there's guys at 55 that will take matches with me. So I'm back at 55.
Yeah.
So I think that seems like it's going to be a longer like term thing.
Yeah.
He looked jacked.
He did look jacked.
Kendall and Heath had him take his shirt off at the end of the match. He wins by rear naked choke. He took his shirt off, and you looked at Dante. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. He is
hopefully he can stay like that.
Shredded.
Of course he is. He was like walking around at like 180.
I know, but
so it's like 30 pounds off.
He looks wild. He looks like Ethan Crownston looked for ADCC.
Dude, that was some crazy shredded right there.
So Ruan looks good. Ruan, I was impressed here, and Dante, I think, in the post-fight talks about it, like, Ruan's fast.
Oh, yeah,
and I don't know if Dante was ready, especially the first period of the match, first like 5 minutes of the match, for the speed that Ruan would be able to get into his legs.
Yeah.
I think Ruan takes him down 3 separate times in this match.
Like ankle picks.
He ankle picks him.
Yeah.
He hits him with a like a knee tap and a head pick at one point, and he hits him with like a single to double at another point. And it was just like, we rarely see Dante taken down at that speed.
Yeah.
It is not something that we know Dante.
And Dante's a pretty decent wrestler himself.
Yeah.
It's not, you normally see him defend most of that.
Yes. And that's why I was surprised. But then I realized, oh, right, he's back down at 55. Ruan is probably, this is a little bit of a speed difference because Dante's been up at the heavier weights now for a bit now.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see Ruan kind of the fluke. I was impressed with Ruan's wrestling here because you mentioned in the pre-fight too, in the pre-show. Do you think that how hard do you think Dante was defending the takedown? Do you think it was Ruan taking him down, or Dante being just willing to kind of play off his back?
I don't know because it didn't seem like Dante has a good guard. We know Dante has a good guard, and we know he has good attacks from that position, and he'll wrestle up. And he didn't really seem to be bothered by it. And you're in a rule set that doesn't really discourage it, I guess you could say.
That's the only thing that happens. Yeah, you'll lose on decisions. We've seen guys in Who's Number One get taken down, and that's most of the matches. Like Pedro Marinho.
But I don't know if he was really even solidly defending the takedowns.
He didn't look like he had a huge amount of urgency to immediately get back up or like get an underhook or throw. Like he seemed to be happy to concede to guard.
And it might have just been, you just lost 30 pounds. You don't know what your gas tank is like.
Right.
So I don't want to spend all my oomph on my feet in the first 5 minutes trying to defend these takedowns. I'll just go with it and see what happens.
Yeah, I just couldn't.
You know what I mean?
You picked up on it. I didn't know. I couldn't tell either if it was a tactical decision or like a technical decision of like, is he getting taken down clean here?
But then when Ruan went down, like Dante just blitzed through his guard pretty quickly.
Yeah. There's a really, so Austin taught something a couple weeks ago or this last weekend. That was exactly what Ruan ended up doing, but Dante, it was basically a back take defense. So Dante eventually gets Ruan down in like a nice little sequence. And then this is the first time we have Dante on top.
Yeah.
And Dante immediately just melts through the guard.
Yeah.
And then Ruan goes to turtle, and Dante throws a hook. He has a single side hook and like a high ball right hook.
Yeah.
And then Ruan does what you're supposed to do in that position, and it's dip and you basically drop through to drop the other hip to the mat. Dante beats him in the roll and then is able to get his leg through, not into the hook position, but actually over the body for the body triangle. Yeah. And it was a really neat thing because usually when someone like Ruan, he's very quick, they'll drop their hips and drop their shoulder to basically drop off that second hook and block it with the mat to prevent you from being able to track it.
Yeah.
If you're trying to throw the hook in. If you get your knee in front of that and you put your leg up like Dante does, the leg ends up in front of the body. It just ends up as a body triangle. And so Dante just does that.
Yeah.
And he beats him in this roll with a body triangle instead of trying to throw a hook and track a hook, because as you roll, it's really hard to keep the far side hook in.
Yeah.
Because like you have to constantly roll, and you guys get up in half guard a lot. If you throw the body triangle in, they can still roll, but because now this hook is in front of them, you still have shoulders to back, and then you take that position and you're on the back. And so Dante very quickly after that has a beautiful hand fight. I want to watch. My hand fight's not great. I want to go back and watch what Dante did, because the camera angle is like perfect here. You can see how Dante is fighting Ruan's hands, and Ruan's doing a great job, like grabbing on the finger, and I've got fingers, like grabbing on the tops of the hands, pulling down, and Dante does like a snake through.
Yeah, he just keeps on weaving his hands through and around and around and around and around.
And eventually just chocks it in.
Yeah, eventually just gets around the face and does. Well, he gets under the neck. I don't think he goes across the face. He goes under the neck.
He does it across the face once, but then he pummels under for like I think 2 or 3 pummels later. But it was wild to see this angle, because we've seen it. You watch a lot of EBI matches. You watch a lot of matches over the years of people in the back like fighting for the choke. Dante would consistently get under the lower hand or the upper hand of Ruan to fight it under the neck, and he would rise his hands up a little bit away from the body and then kind of snake it in, and he would rise both hands, and then he would pummel a hand underneath the hand being taken away while it was still kind of being defended by Ruan, and he would get that under the neck, and then he would like swim his hands through. It's something that we've seen guys get taught to do.
Yeah.
Very few people do it as smoothly as Dante did. There was something different about the way that Dante was able to make that hand pummel that we do not see very often, because most guys will just punch across and they'll eventually win the punch battle.
Yeah.
Dante did it with like, and you can't see if you're watching the YouTube video. You know that thing that people do with the speed bag?
Yeah.
He kind of did that on his forearms and hands and just rotated under to eventually get the choke, and it was a really interesting hand fight win.
Yeah.
That was, I haven't seen many people at this kind of level versus a guy like Ruan do a hand fight like that, and it looks so clean. So, super impressed with Dante Leon. Yep. He's looking jacked. I'm super happy to see him at 55. I'm curious to see if he runs into other guys that are super quick.
Yeah,
what he looks like.
What happens.
Yeah, like we have a lot of really, really exciting matches. I'm trying to think of who's at 55 now, like guys like Krikorian and Williams and like all the 45ers that'll go up to 55.
Yeah.
You know, there's a huge gulf of new guys for Dante to fight that I think will be really, really exciting.
And we have at 55, we have like Gabriel Souza. Isn't he a 55er?
45, 55, 55er.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot like of people now. They would be super fun to see.
Because
like,
it's the 66 bracket.
It's all the 66ers that don't want to make the horrific cut.
Yeah, they don't want to cut it.
Like Cisneros would be a fun match. Like
Krallenstein is a
40, 55er now.
Because he barely made 66. He was jacked as fuck.
That's a fun match. Like basically everyone at Kolabate, 45, not 55 to Dante. Like everyone in the 66 kilogram bracket is now a guy I want to see against Dante.
Yeah.
So that's Dante Leon versus Ruan Alvarenga. Huge fans of Dante.
Yeah, and then our last match was Jacob Couch versus Izaak Michell.
Izaak Michell looks fucking good.
Yeah, he does.
He's at Brazilian Fight Factory now, and
he's training between them and another gym.
Is it New York?
Yeah, it was in New York.
Vanguard, Jason Rao.
He's
at Vanguard with Jason Rao. Dude, this is the first time I think we've seen Michelle on Who's Number One since the Who's Next final.
Yeah.
Because the commentary kept bringing that up.
Yeah.
And we've seen Couch a bunch on Who's Number One. We're very familiar with this game. He really struggled to get his game going versus Izaak Michell.
Well, Izaak Michell has great leg lock defense, I'm sure, because he was leg locked a bazillion times.
But he was Craig Jones' guy for like 4 or 5 years. He was like with Craig.
And if you think about it, a lot of Jacob Couch's entries are kind of
the false sweep, which is Lachlan and Craig.
Yeah.
Like the two guys, the progenitors of
which
that
are who
whole series.
Izaak Michelle kind of grew up under.
Came up with and under, and guys in those rooms with those guys that were used to it. So it's like, Couch is best tool that he gets so many people with so well.
Yeah.
He got to Michelle, and Michelle there was a couple of sequences where Couch would get to where we wanted to go, and then Izaak would just go, open up, turn, like beautiful leg lock, like first and second, really never really needed to get to second stage leg lock defense for much, because Couch would get into something, and Izaak would just kind of go out, push off, and completely disengage.
There's also a match missing.
We have 2 of the undercard matches.
No, we have the Tubby match. Where's the Tubby match?
Great. It's not on that.
It's not even on there.
It's not on the results page.
Flow Grappling's kind of slacking with their stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
We'll do that match next.
Yeah. I just realized that we were.
Yeah, Alex Enriquez versus Tubby Alequin.
Because that was right before the.
Yeah, we're doing them out of order.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a person of order. I like order.
Yeah. I was super impressed with Izaak's passing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like repeatedly we didn't ever see him get into like a chest to chest or something like really heavy pressure passing versus Couch, because that's where Couch like gets stuff going.
Yeah. But he also didn't really let him get the controls that he needed.
No. Whenever Couch
to get under him or to be able to control his legs.
Whenever Couch did get to the guard, like once or twice, he immediately locked up the body triangle from the guard. Yeah. And I wasn't really sure what Couch was looking for, because we know Couch is super dynamic. He's very flexible. He will get under you in that position to sweep you or to go into your legs or false sweep. Like, he has some really, really nice entries from that body lock from the guard.
Yeah.
Or sorry, the body triangle from the guard. He just didn't seem to. I couldn't figure out tactically what he was looking to do with Izaak.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the guy had a 2-hour match with Kyle Chambers. You probably aren't going to be able to tire him out in this time. Yeah. Which is usually what you'll use the body triangle from the guard to do. And Couch, as we know, is absurdly strong.
Maybe it was more of just a control thing.
Yeah. I'm just.
Like, he was not afraid, but he thought that he would pass his guard too easily. Yeah.
And we saw as soon as like it opened, Izaak immediately was out and then back to passing.
Yeah.
Izaak did some great like variation of Toriano passing. He did some great versions of just like not step through passing, like outside passing.
Yeah.
And repeatedly kind of gets past Jacob. And then the sequence that doesn't finish it, the sequence that really puts a stamp on it is Izaak Michell hits the Nicky Rod, cartwheel pass on Couch. And he basically, it's a smaller version of what Nicky Rod does because, Izaak Michell is not 235.
Yeah.
The exact same thing we've seen him hit. Nicky Rod hit at Trials, hit at ADCC, hit at EBI. Like, it's that cartwheel pass.
Yeah.
Over, he gets Couch's back, and he's there for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Really working. Couch has phenomenal defense.
Yeah.
Does a really good job, like, not exposing the neck. We've seen Izaak on the back, guys like Kyle Chambers, not the strongest finisher on the back, very, very good control, but against those upper echelon guys, we look at the Chambers match because that's the most recent match that we have on Who's Number One from Michelle, not astonishingly dangerous on the back. That's a really bad way to put that. Very dangerous, but if you have prudent defense that has been shown to work and be able to deal with and stave off the rear naked chokes from Michelle.
Yeah.
We did see him at one point start to look for that armbar he hit Chambers with, and the commentary picked that up, and Couch defended that very well, gets back in, goes to the leg lock, and then Izaak disengages from the leg lock, and then goes back to passing. But I was impressed with Izaak.
Yeah, I was too.
Couch is a guy that can definitely play spoiler to anyone.
Yeah.
His leg lock entries
he just
are great.
Kind of shut Couch down.
Yeah.
He shut all of his any of his aggressive tactics down.
Which it was odd because Couch is a guy that we really haven't seen that happen to, aside from like the late replacement Gordon match, but it's Gordon, and Gordon's gigantic versus him, and you really saw him impose there. I'm trying to think of another Jacob Couch match where he gets shut down like this or kind of pulled out of his game, and all of the matches we've covered
even
him on.
like his losses that I remember from Trials.
Yeah.
He didn't really get shut down. Like,
no.
He still had a pretty aggressive game, and somebody was just faster.
So I'm thinking of
getting somewhere.
The East Coast match, the West Coast matches. I'm also thinking of his open match that he had with Andrew Tackett.
Yeah.
That was like, he could get beat there, but he's not getting shut down ever. Like, Michelle really shut him down. So I'm curious what developments we'll see from Couch here. extremely impressed with, how good Izaak looked positionally and in the passing. Couch is not a guy that we see get passed like this. I can't think of another guy who's done that to him.
I can't either, really.
So, phenomenal work from Izaak. Again, I would like to see Izaak be able to put guys away more. We did see it in trials, but if we're going to see him on Who's Number One, I would love to see that, but I can't be mad at the performance. Phenomenally dominant and looked great. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the women's match of the card. Again, I wish that we had maybe a few more women's matches on the card. We had one this time, at least. So we had Tubby Alequin taking a pretty clean decision over Alex Enriquez.
Yeah, and we saw a different Tubby here. At least I thought we saw a different Tubby.
So you went back and you watched. This is the third time they fight.
Yeah, they won against each other. Well, the 3 times, let's say recently, because maybe they fought before this.
They fought when Alex was a teenager still, I think, as well.
Yeah. So they fought once at Brown Belt, and then they fought once at No-Gi Worlds this last year. And Alex had won by an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And
in IBJJF.
Tubby had, in one of her interviews, said that she had an idea that Alex was going to think that the same Tubby was going to come at her on this match as that match. And that's why she wanted to showcase her wrestling and her top game a little bit more, which we did see more wrestling and top game, which was something I didn't really expect out of her. I expected her to pull and kind of...
In our preview, that's what we talked about. We expected the guard play from Alequin, and we expected Enriquez to be really aggressive with the passing and Pensy Tubby to enter the leg. That's what we kind of expected. That was not the match that we got here in the slightest.
Not at all. And they both, Tubby did a really good job blocking the takedowns and really kind of countering Alex on her feet. And I don't think I expected that to happen at all.
No, Alex is a strong wrestler, and we've seen it in her trials run. Yeah. We watched that, and we've been always very impressed with it. I was impressed with how willing Tubby was to go into those phases and then sort of also do work. Did she ever? I think she got Alex down at one point.
Yeah, she got Alex down, and then there was the Kudo guard.
Yeah, Ricardo Mondoli on the commentary did a great job. And so then there's a guard, and Enriquez. I think this is a little later in the match, and Tubby's been kind of putting really, really heavy pressure on Enriquez, and Enriquez goes double overhooks on the arm. So basically, you have each leg of Tubby Alequin basically standing mount, but you have both legs, and she had both feet up right in the center of the groin, pushing like you were going to do a balloon sweep. Yeah. And then Ricardo Mandola called it a Kuto guard, which I think is from, you wrote it down, didn't you?
Octavio Kuto?
Kuto. And I'm going to look it up because it's I've seen this used before.
Yeah, we didn't know
it's really uncommon.
Yeah, we didn't know the name for this.
But if it has a name, I'm amped to learn a new name. Tubby was able to do it. She basically bases out on her hands and gets the legs out. But it's an uncommon position you see, but you can basically push someone over. And how it's used, when I have seen it used, is basically the person is having this, Kuto guard plate on them will base out on their hands, and what you'll do is the player on the bottom, because they're so far away because you're pushing up at full extension of your legs.
They don't have a way to defend.
Yeah, you can roll through basically, and then you end up in top almost in a Toriano pass, or you can even get your legs back together to basket pass them.
Yeah,
we didn't see that here, but it was just, when I have seen this used before, I didn't have a name for it, and it's usually not done in a sustained way. There was a moment here where that guard was just being played, and typically it's used in a way that a balloon sweep is used, or a tomonage is used, where it's brief and then it goes over and they flip and then we're done. It's not usually used like this. So it was, again, neat to see Alex use the position like this to kind of prevent Tubby from being able to come back down and address the guard and go through.
Then Alex Enriquez gets in a triangle. Tubby puts her in a triangle.
Yeah, this was a neat sequence. Yeah. And so we both watched this in the pre-show again. I thought there was the triangle, eventually Alex gets out. Yeah. But I thought this was this looked to me like a tactical decision from Alex Enriquez to pass and to basically do the triangle pass. Yeah. Because Alex Enriquez has her hands together and she's framing on Tubby's hip. Yeah. And the first leg comes up over, and then you see Alex kind of lean in and kind of over, like she's about to do that triangle pass as the leg comes up. Yeah. And then you see very little urgency Tubby then locks the triangle in, but because Alex is like, there's not really an arm through.
Yeah.
The arm's it's kind of in, kind of out, but it's more out than in. And you see Alex like very calm, just pressure, start to turn, start to get up, and start to work her way out of this triangle to pass. And so it was just a really interesting tactical decision for her to do that. And it was neat to see like, oh, you're going to use this triangle as a passing opportunity because Alequin has a notoriously hard guard to pass. I'm going to have you commit your legs to this triangle. That way your legs are over me in the triangle. And if I can drop my shoulder through your thigh here, I can get a pass and your legs can't come back in front of me to stop. So it was I thought it was a tactical thing that she did, and I thought it was a really good tactical thing that she did, but it's just wild to have that level of confidence in that pass. So that was a neat sequence. It didn't end up working. Eventually Tubby kind of
goes into the crucifix
there.
Which is your favorite position at this point?
I do love me some. I've been watching a lot of Barry Ishida for like a year now.
Definitely yelled at you when
you did yell at me today when we were training because I kept trying and kept doing it.
I kept on getting out of it, and then you would put me back in.
I put you back in.
So it was annoying.
Alex Enriquez Tubby Alequin at a certain point gets like a modified crucifix on Alex. There's no sub here.
No, she just controls her from the top. Mm-hmm. She does like the second. Maybe the second 2/3, or maybe like a little less than that. Maybe the last third of the match. Mm-hmm. It's Tubby on top, kind of imposing.
So I watched this match twice. The first time I watched it, I thought it was really clearly for Tubby. The second time I watched it, I was like, oh, it was a little more even in a lot of the exchanges than I had thought. Still definitely, again, very clearly a match for Tubby. But I was just there was more work from Enriquez done in spaces than I thought on the first watch. And it's rare that happens to me when watching a match again, so it was cool. Tubby takes a really, really, I think, a very clean decision here over Alex Enriquez. Any other thoughts on the match or any technique you want to run through?
It was fun to watch her be imposing and not just play guard.
It's super rare, though, also to see someone change up their game that much for an opponent. Especially at the black belt level, that's not a common skill people have. It's like you can kind of play their game.
It could also be that she realizes that other aspects of her game are just as good as her guards, so why not showcase them?
Yeah, and she really did. Like this was not Tubby just playing guard. This was her doing and kind of showing the wrestling and showing the top position and showing the control and showing the back work. Like, leveraging more aspects of her game than just the dangerous guard game that she has. So that was cool. And I huge props to her to be able to go out there and show off different pieces of your game versus like an aggressive competitor like Alex Enriquez. That's not something a lot of competitors are willing or able to do. And so I was appreciative, especially coming off a loss, like a close loss at World or at Nogi Worlds to then make the changes in Nogi here, who's number one, with a very similar, allowable techniques. It's nice, and it really speaks to, where Tubby's at. And I would be very interested to see this match again in like a year's time. Yeah. Because I think both of them obviously are still developing huge pieces of their game. And so it was a fun match. Again, I would love to see who's number one, have more women's matches on the cards. Yeah. Because this one was a lot of fun.
I don't know how, I guess I'm trying to think who else they could put on the card. I guess they did. They did a lot of women's matches.
Yeah, for the Road ADCC, like they're phenomenal black women on the sport. We had a very male dominated card, and I would love to again just see maybe 2 matches. Like, give me something. But I appreciate that's on here, and they really showed up, and it was fun. 2 other matches for the prelims. We had David. They said his name on the card.
Asari,
I think is what they said, and I couldn't really hear it super clearly.
Sorry.
Versus Nick Helfand. David wins a decision there. And we had Austin Ordinario versus Troy Russell. Troy Russell hits a really nice inside heel hook pretty quickly.
He was a Lovato. Yeah. The Lovato student.
Mm-hmm. We've seen
everybody went crazy on that one.
That was that the opener or second match?
I think that was the opener, but I'm not positive.
We had I think you're right. We've seen both these guys, Austin and Troy, before. I think on Fight to Win. I think this is where we've seen them.
I've seen Orande before.
Yeah, Austin
I don't know exactly where, but I know I've seen him before.
Because I would always mispronounce his last name. and that's why. But this was fun. This was a neat leg lock sequence that led to the heel hook, and it was quick. And again, this is what I want to see from a prelim match. Both guys were actively going out there and going for the finish, and Troy gets it done with an inside heel hook. So overall, that was who's number one. I thought the pacing was a lot better.
The pacing was a lot better. It was
the whole card is like 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
something like that. And I watched it again.
And I felt like even when a match was over, there was a brief little bit of time before they started the next match, but they did them pretty quickly, which is great.
And they also had a countdown to the next match in the corner. That was nice.
See, I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah, in the corner between intermissions, they had 4 minutes to the next match. You could see,
I taught and then rolled and then got home and then realized, oh crap, I forgot this was on.
Because it's Thursday. Right?
Yeah, and then I immediately put it on, so
no, that was good. And then they did some stuff during a couple of the intermissions with some interviews and talking. Yeah. I wish that they would kind of have more of a production for the viewing audience. Yeah. Like the broadcast audience. Yeah. During those, give me something kind of like ONE FC did. Yeah. Give me something between the matches, like some discussion or a preview or something to make it so I'm not just kind of staring at an audience screen. Yeah. I think that's kind of not good. And I hate that we had a couple of matches, especially we had 2 matches on the prelims. I think later where they did the ad thing during the match. Yeah, where they put the ad
up at the same time as the match.
And it just pauses the broadcast and then it cuts back in, but they do it during the match. Guys, you have these big breaks of time. Yeah. Run your ads when everyone and every other sport runs their ads, not during the middle of the match. Just so disrespectful for the viewer. So that bothered me again, but I thought the commentary was great, like Jake Watson, Ricardo Amendolia, Chase Smith, again Kendall on the broadcast as well for the post fights. I think she was also on the table as well. But all those folks do phenomenal jobs. I love the excitement that Watson has when something's happening. We have very few jiu-jitsu commentators that bring a genuine level of excitement and not just screaming. Yeah. Watson will bring an energy to a broadcast that I really appreciate. He's, I think, the only jiu-jitsu commentator that can do that I'm happy to hear, get loud and get yelling onto the mic, because he does it in a way that doesn't take away from the broadcast. Yeah. And so it's shout out to
He doesn't just scream at the top of his lungs.
Yes. He'll go oh, and then he'll launch into why he's excited and bring that excitement into the broadcast. And we're watching him kind of do more and more commentary the last couple of years. Actually just watched, he put out a commentary highlight reel of basically a press piece for himself, looking to get more commentary stuff. That dude brings a great energy to it. I love to see that he's getting more broadcasts. He was at ADCC in Costa Mesa doing the commentary for the Absolute there. Okay. Again, it's been cool to see him kind of be doing more of these Grounded Worlds. I'm happy that Flo has brought him in. I think this is not his first event with Who's Number One. I think he's done a couple of them, but I always really appreciate the energy. And then Chase Smith and Ricardo and Kendall, I think they have a really great commentary team there, and I hope that team stays together. We listen to a lot of events that don't have the best commentary, don't have the most well-informed commentary. Who's Number One, I think, has some of the best commentary in the sport. And so
I think so too.
Really, 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 really happy with how those folks talk about the sport, talk about jiu-jitsu, and bring light to the competitors and their technique and their stories and their gyms, and that's phenomenal. Again, as folks, you and I both do, more local commentary. Learning from them and watching folks like this do well by the sport is always great to hear, and it just makes the sport seem more professional and really showcases the athletes. So props to them, doing a great job. Anything else? I think that's all we got.
That was the event.
So let's move on. Do you want to do finishers? You want to do fight to win? We're going to briefly talk about both the main events for these.
Let's do fight to win 229 in Hawaii.
In Honolulu, Hawaii. This one is main evented by Mo Black and what was the woman's name?
Tisha Allo.
This was Mo Black doing Mo Black does. Yeah. Now she takes a really gritty decision over, not really gritty, a really, really a dominant decision.
At the beginning, it looked like Allo was going to get
I was impressed with Allo at the beginning.
Allo at the beginning definitely put Mo Black in the deep.
Mm-hmm. In the first, probably minute and a half of the match, I went, oh, because Mo Black, we've seen her win ADCC Open. We very, very good competitor. Yeah. And I'm not as familiar with Tisha Allo. And so in the first minute of the match, she's, working for Mo's back. She's working passing the guard, and then she goes for an armbar Kimura kind of combo, and Mo Black turns her over, and then basically Tisha goes to goes to roll through.
Yeah.
And Mo, really, really great sequence here, lets go of like the body lock she has with her hands.
Yeah.
Lets Tisha roll and then like doesn't track and then just like latches back on, takes the back. They roll through. They end up out of bounds. On a reset, she keeps the back.
Yeah.
That was pretty much the match.
Yeah.
Tisha had really, really great defense for the entirety of it. Doesn't get subbed. At the end, she gets out. But
by that time, she'd been on her back for
the majority of the match.
Yeah.
So that was the main event of Fight to Win. Again, I love that they go to Hawaii and showcase the Hawaiian talent. I would love to make it out for a Hawaii card for Fight to Win. They go out there once or twice a year now.
I've never been to Hawaii.
I haven't either.
I know. It always seemed like it was really, really far away.
It is very far away. It's also other coast. So that was Fight to Win 229 Honolulu. Great main event. My Fight subscription, I think refreshes like this week. It's on Fight TV. I'm happy that Fight to Win is there. It's the reason I keep my Fight Plus subscription.
Well,
so
you also keep it for Fight Service.
I do keep. I actually watched. For some reason today, I looked at Fight Circus on Instagram, and I watched the John Nutt match versus the two guys again today, and I watched the promo for the Siamese boxing match again.
It's some madness.
Like they have bare knuckle boxing, so Fight TV and Fight Plus has a lot of like neat stuff. If you're into pro wrestling, they have a lot of stuff too.
They do bare knuckle boxing too, but it's pay-per-view.
It's pay-per-view, but after I think 30 days, it goes on to Fight Plus. I think so.
Because I want to watch Luke Rockhold.
I want to watch Luke Rockhold, and I want to watch the Chad Mendez and Eddie Alvarez fight.
Yeah, because I heard Chad Mendez did some good damage.
Look, the bare knuckle boxing is fun. Yeah. So they have that. So again, they moved to Fight. Support Grappling, watch that stuff.
Yeah.
Finishers was on Flow.
Yeah.
And
today,
Sunday.
Yeah.
Main evented by John Battle and Fabian Ramirez.
Yeah.
Finishing sequence was great here. Both guys had some great back and forth.
Yeah.
And then the finishing sequence was basically Fabian, not a teleport pass, but really just like
jumps on his back.
Yeah, really
I don't know how else to explain that.
Angle, jumps on the back. I wish the camera angle was a little more to the side. We have a kind of a cross view of the mat, and so it was kind of hard to exactly tell how the hand fight happened because Fabian, it looks like he gets the choke in and then arches and extends.
Yeah.
But I can't really see any of the fight happening from Battle's hands. Gets a body and Fabian finishes a body triangle, rear naked choke from the back, and that is the Finishers 21 Money in the Bank. Final.
Yeah.
So overall, great week of grappling.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. We have nothing to preview this week. We probably have something we're forgetting. I think Polaris is in 2 weeks.
I think it's in June.
It's in June 1st, I think.
Yeah.
That card is shaping up to look phenomenal. I looked at it today a little bit to see some more of the names, and I can't wait. They're bringing a lot of folks in for that.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up right now while we're talking.
But what's it called pulled out of it?
Who did?
50-50 guy.
Ryan Hall pulled out.
Ryan Hall pulled out, but they've replaced him.
Did they?
Yeah, I forgot who they replaced him with.
I forgot.
My brain.
We have Ethan Krallenstein versus Nathan Orchard.
Ethan was who they brought in.
Ethan Krallenstein versus Nathan Orchard. So that will be fun. We have.
I think Ethan is gonna.
I do too.
He's gonna impose on that.
And
match.
that should be fun. Let's see who else we have. We have Holmes versus Jason Rao, as well. I'm moving through. I'm trying to find the ones. A lot of European talent. We have Dinu Beckelout on the card versus Ollie Webb. We have a bunch of other folks. Here we go. Hunter Quoven versus Owen O'Flanagan.
Yeah.
That's one of the matches I'm super, super amped for. So, and Keith versus Tom Halpin. That's the match I'm most excited for.
It'll be a fun card to watch.
Mm-hmm. So we'll preview that. That's June 3rd. So we'll probably preview that next week.
Okay. I will not be here next week.
So next week will be the 29th. And then, so we'll preview that this next week's show. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
And then we move into a bunch of other stuff. So, anything fun going on this week?
I'm going to Vegas.
This week?
I leave Wednesday night.
Fun.
I go to the Punk Rock Bowling Festival in Vegas. And I
that'd
kind
be
of
cool.
train while I'm out there, too. Yeah, it's like Rancid and
that'll be cool.
Who else? Bad Religion and a bunch of older punk bands, which sounds fun. Plus it's Vegas.
That sounds awesome.
Means I get to go to Taco Bell Cantina.
The Taco Bell Cantina. I love
which is the greatest
I love
place.
the Taco Bell Cantina.
I also found there's also a circus burlesque club that we're going to go to. We're going to have some fun in Vegas. It's going to be fun. So stop by and see some of our friends in Vegas. So
sweet.
If you're in Vegas, hit me up.
Hit us up. I'm not doing shit this week. I'm just doing regular work stuff.
Yeah.
Hanging out and trying to see if I have the vacation time to go out to Dallas. About it.
You can always find vacation time.
And that's my figure I had to do that. So that's all I got going on. So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine. It's my co-host,
Miranda.
And we got the Grappling Rewind, so Matt, whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.